Hey, what is happening, everybody? MG here, MG Covers. We are live October the 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had a small delay, but we are good to go here now. Title of this video, we're going to do a college football sports betting preview for all the games. I'm going to give you all my lines for the games that we're considering. We won't preview all the games, but a large majority of those. Before we do that, as always, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, love to have you as a subscriber. If you want to learn about sports betting, have a ton of content related to sports betting, handicapping college football, handicapping NFL. If you want to follow me on all the social media outlets, I'm MGCovers, covers spelled with a Z. Give away a ton of information on my storyline on Instagram. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. The first thing you're looking at here, this is from my monitoring service, Sports Watch Monitor. What a monitoring service does, you have to send them all of your plays and they monitor them. So, and basically show the general public your results. So if a handicapper says, hey, we made $2,000 last week, you can go to Sports Watch Monitor and verify that. And you will see here, over here on the right, where I have the cursor, we are the #1 handicapper in college football out of about 90 professionals. Super proud of that. 123% yield, up 2 units. And you can see here in 4th place, Mark Lawrence, if you don't know who he is. If you ever go to the bookstore and you know that real thick guide that gives all the college football preview, all the returning starters on offense and defense, all the games they've played, their record against the spread. He's actually the author of that. Comes out every year. I've read that for years. So very good handicapper. So we're in some really good company here. Be difficult to maintain that #1 spot, but we are definitely going to give it a shot. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this page here. This is all my lines for college football for today's games. Now, I don't have lines for every single game. The way I run my stat model is teams have to meet a certain criteria. 2 criteria. If they meet that, then I'll actually compute the line. Now, the reason we have a stat model, the sportsbook line that you see at a sportsbook is a biased line. They have to make the line based on the public's perception of a team, meaning if the general public believes Clemson is 3 touchdowns better, the sports books will generally reflect that. Whereas my model is a statistically based model with no bias factored in, and it gives you a more realistic, almost factual line as compared to the sportsbook line. And our job as a handicapper is look for discrepancies. And generally what I like to see is about a 5-point differential between my line and the sportsbook line. Okay, so what we're going to do, the first one we're going to take a look at, I got some notes here. We're going to look at this. Let's see if I have it here. Yep, I got it there. Is the Duke North Carolina game. You can see there, our line is Duke -11, North Carolina +11. Let's see what we're getting over here at the sports book. Okay, this line sort of bounced around. You can look here. Looks like it's actually come down a little bit. So that means you're getting, actually we're getting some reverse line movement. And what reverse line movement is, that means you have the majority of tickets on North Carolina, 54%. You have only 46% of the tickets on Duke, yet the line is moving in favor of Duke. So you have some sharp money pushing that line down. So in any event, whether the line's 20 or 19.5, North Carolina pretty much has to win this one by 3 touchdowns. Duke on the year, they've beaten Kansas, Northwestern, so decent wins. Did lose to Charlotte first game of the season. We never put too much stock in that first game. North Carolina has beaten Virginia, Georgia State, also lost to Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. So they're very overrated, in my opinion. One important note, rushing yards. Duke is averaging 250 yards on the ground, so that definitely will help. It's one of the criteria that I look at. So they can definitely run the ball. For me, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to play this game, but definitely a strong lean on Duke there, especially considering you have some reverse line movement there. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. we're going to look at Purdue and Minnesota. Purdue, my line is plus 11.5. We have Minnesota as the favorite. I'm going to go ahead and close this line, y'all. And you can look at, let's see, general public all over Minnesota, 64% of the tickets. They have Purdue as the favorite at minus 2.5. And again, our line is Minnesota minus 11.5. Purdue's got 2 of the running backs out. Their top wide receivers questionable. Minnesota did get a win over Colorado on the road. That was good. Both teams have a really good defense, holding opponents to under 100 yards rushing. That would be a tough one there. I don't even know if I really have a lean on that either way. If I did play Minnesota, more than likely would play Minnesota on the money line. And what I mean by that is if you don't really get a lot of value in taking the points, 2.5 really doesn't help you at all. So you'd be better off playing this on the money line, and you can get about plus 114. And also, too, by playing on the money line, talked about this in numerous videos, if you lose that game, you pay no juice there. All right, let's go to the next one. Georgia Tech. Really love this one. The line is Georgia Tech plus 3, Pittsburgh minus 3. Let's see here. In our line, we have Georgia Tech minus 10.5. Yeah, one important note, a lot of people don't look at turnover margin. Georgia Tech is plus 5 in the turnover margin category. I had some notes written down, so let me pull these up here. Hey, and if you're watching this live, appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, this is the same deal here. If you're going to play this, you'd be better off playing this on the money line as opposed to the points. Let's see what we can get on the money line. And sometimes we see that plus 3. Sometimes it's around plus 115, plus 110. Sometimes it's more than that. It just depends. Yeah, and you can see here you get a lot more now. You get plus 134. And one important note to note about home teams in college football, this is also applicable to college basketball. Home teams win 70% of the time. That's very important to note. We took advantage. So anytime you have a home dog, you want to make sure you give that game very serious consideration because you have a statistical property working in your favor. And what I mean by statistical property is just a fact about that sport as it relates to sports betting. So the home team wins 70% of the time. So you get that working in your favor. Thought I had some notes here, Georgia Tech. Yeah, and we look down here. Yeah, Pittsburgh offense only averaging 166 yards rushing. You got Georgia Tech is averaging 199 yards rushing, but Pittsburgh defense pretty good. Only giving up 109 yards rushing. Did lose to Western Michigan earlier in the year, but Western Michigan is a pretty good team. So this sort of feels almost like a 50-50 game. So definitely a strong lean in favor of Georgia Tech there. All right, what do we have next here? Let's take a look at Charlotte minus 4.5. My line against Illinois. Illinois is huge favorites here. Not huge, minus 10. I'm getting a majority of the tickets too. This is going to be a no play. I'll tell you, there's several reasons. Illinois has just played a lot tougher schedule. Charlotte gave up 39 points last week to Middle Tennessee. I mean, they can definitely, I think they're definitely going to score points, but you know, you got Charlotte's 3-1, Illinois is 1-4. But if you look at the opponents Illinois played, they lost to Purdue 9-13, lost to Maryland 17-20, did get blown out by Virginia, beat Nebraska first game of the season, and looks like that's Texas San Antonio. They lost in a close one. Middle Tennessee really doesn't have any quality wins. They beat Duke first game of the season, did lose to Georgia State 90-20. So I think that's when you're looking at strength of schedule is very important. So I really would give a huge advantage to Illinois as far as strength of schedule. So more than likely for me, that's probably going to be a no play. However, if you look at this line, if it gets to say 10.5 is important. That's an important number, right? Because once this line gets to 10.5, Illinois is going to have to win by 2 touchdowns. And if it stays at 10, obviously they can win by touchdown and a field goal. And that would be a push. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one I have here. Northern Illinois. We have Northern Illinois. Yep, Eastern Michigan. We have Northern Illinois -8. Let's take a look at the line. Yeah, Eastern Michigan. Northern Illinois is +1.5. And Eastern Michigan is -1.5. I think this was a game. Yeah, this is important too. When you see, look at this line movement here. A really good handicapping tip. You can see it was -2.5 Northern Illinois. That was 2 days ago. Then it goes down to hard 1.5 to -1. Now it's at +1.5. So anytime you see line movement like that, that's why it's so important to always look at line movement, because there might be something that you miss handicapping in a game and it might show up in line movement. So, I mean, this sudden jump from -1.5 to +1.5, there could be an injury on the Northern Illinois side. Could just be sharp money coming in on the other side, but that would be a game that I would definitely be cautious of. And that's going to probably, let me see if I got notes on this one. Yeah, it's probably going to be a no play. Big one here. Northern Illinois is giving up 240 yards rushing. Being able to run the football is very important. College football, NFL football. I learned this from a college football coach. If you can run the football, you can also pass the ball. And why is that? It's very simple. Let's say if you can't run the ball, you're going to end up in a lot of long third downs. You're going to have, say, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. What happens then? The defense is at an advantage. They can blitz. They can play coverage. If you have to pass the ball in a pressured situation trying to get a first down, that increases your chances of a turnover. The quarterback can fumble on a QB sack. Also increases chances of an interception. Whereas if you can run the ball effectively, let's say you have a lot of 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3, that gives the offense an advantage. You can run, you can pass. So being able to run the ball is very important. And if you can't stop the run, that's equally as important. So ideally what I like to see when I'm handicapping, and teams I like to play are teams that can run the ball and are also good defending the run. So Northern Illinois, not good at defending that. And so that would be a pass there. All right. Let's keep rolling here. Next game, we're going to take a peek at Syracuse. This is a fascinating game. Syracuse, my line is -2.5. Florida State still yet to find a win. Let's pull this up. And the tickets are just about even. And what I mean by that is I generally consider a game, I want to avoid playing a public team, which means where that team's getting majority of the tickets. Syracuse, 52%, Florida State, 48%. So I consider this neutral. Syracuse +5.5, Florida State -5.5. And let's see if I can pull. Yeah, let me look at this real quick. Go over here to my notes. And, it's interesting. This is going to be what I call a play against. Yeah, Florida State, this is the way to think about this game. Florida State is 0-4, right? Form is often neglected in sports handicapping. What I mean by form is, Syracuse is 3-1. A team that's 3-1 is going to be a lot more confident than a team 0-4. Form, you hear about a lot of it when handicapping soccer, but often gets neglected in sports handicapping, but it's really important. So let's pull up this line here. You can see Syracuse +5.5, but look what happens when we punch in this money line. +186. So here's a way to think about this game. And again, you don't need to make, sometimes just being very simple with your handicapping. You have Florida State, who has not won a game all year. You can get plus 186 playing against them. So that is excellent value. Now, a mistake that a lot of people make as a handicapper trying to figure out, is Florida State going to win? Is Syracuse going to win? That's the incorrect way to evaluate this. What we're trying to do is make good decisions, because we know, based on my stat model, Syracuse is the favorite. So let's say 50% of, let's say this scenario comes up 10 times, this exact type scenario where you have a really bad team going against a team, you can get really good money line dog money, say plus 186, maybe even plus 200. We saw this last week with the Baylor game as well. Baylor was getting plus 210. So let's say in this scenario, you lose 5 times. So you would be down $500, right? But you would win 5 times. So if you take 5 times 183, that's 915. So you would net basically $415 or 4 units. So that's the way to evaluate this game. And that's basically, I just summarized expected value. So we realized, and really the question is to ask, does Syracuse have at least a 50% chance of winning this game? And the answer to that question is yes. So this is more than likely going to be a play for me. It's just a smart play. We're not trying to decide whether or not they're going to win or not. It's just a really good decision to play that game. Okay, next one, let's move right along. East Carolina. Let's look at the sportsbook line since we're on this page. East Carolina, again, another one, +3. Tulane -3. Again, East Carolina's at home. We talked about the home dog. Home teams win 70% of the time. My line, let's switch over here, take a look. Yeah, we have East Carolina -4. Mike Houston is a coach for East Carolina. I'm absolutely a huge Mike Houston fan. He's very undervalued as a coach. He's probably going to be coaching maybe in the Big Ten, ACC, SEC. He will definitely leave East Carolina at some point. I followed him throughout his entire career. Very good coach. Almost beat South Carolina this year. If you remember a few years ago when Citadel beat South Carolina at South Carolina, Mike Houston was the coach. He's won a national championship with James Madison. Always gets his teams prepared. Coaching really does matter in college football, and Mike Houston's excellent coach. So if you did play that one on the money line, I mean, if you would play that game, definitely advantageous to play it on the money line. And let's see what you can get there. Like I say, these +3 numbers vary. Yeah, plus 130. So definitely a pretty good play there. All right, so the next one, let's take a peek at Central Michigan. See if I can find it with my old man glasses on. Central Michigan, Miami of Ohio. Central Michigan is the favorite on the road, -1.5. Miami is +1.5. I wrote some notes on here. Let's see what my line is. Yeah, my line is -9.5 Central Michigan. But I'm pretty sure I had this noted as a no play here. Let's see. Yeah, looking at Central Michigan, that looks like they beat Florida International. I think they came from behind, lost to LSU 21-49, lost to Missouri 24-34. Miami of Ohio, way underachieved so far. Lost to Army last week. We had Army. Let's take a look at some statistical data on this one. No, actually, I do like this one. I was looking at another game. Going back to that rushing scenario, Central Michigan averaging 181 yards rushing. The average in college football is a lot higher than NFL, is 155. Miami of Ohio has given up 200 yards rushing. And Miami of Ohio's offense is only averaging 120 yards on the ground. Now check this out. Central Michigan's defense only giving up 74 yards rushing. So definitely a lean on Central Michigan in this one. And they are a non-public team there. You can see minus 1.5. I'm only getting 29% of the tickets. All right, moving along. Let's look at Georgia Southern and Arkansas State. Georgia Southern is minus 10.5. Sportsbook line is minus 2. And I think this was a game where both of these teams have a losing record. And going back to that form, I generally like to play the way that I handicap. I like to play, quote, good teams. See if I can find it. Yeah, this is going to be delayed like this, so I apologize, guys, but it's the way it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, both of these teams are 1-3. Now, if Georgia Southern was, say, maybe +3, +4, we basically consider this sort of a 50-50 game. I might consider playing Georgia Southern, but in this scenario, do not like this play at all. All right. Next, let's take a look at Army. We had last week. You can see our line is minus 16.5 against Ball State. Yeah, this is a really good point to make here. You can see that line open up way low, minus 6. It's all the way up to 10. Mistake I made. I looked at this game last night. I was going to play Army. Should have done it. Should have played them at 9, because then if they win, they can win by a touchdown, a field goal. Now it's 10. They have to win by 2 touchdowns in order to cover this. And again, you got to go back to our line is minus 16. So that's about where we would have it at. I feel like we don't get enough closing line value. What I mean by closing line value, we should have played it at 9. Now the line's 10. It's probably going to bump to 10.5, which means they would definitely have to win by 2 touchdowns. You can't even push on the 10. So probably a mistake on my part. I looked at this game last night, and in fact, I have it on this sheet at minus 9. So, granted, there's still value there. We still have that at least a 5-point differential. But for me, in the way that I cap, I feel like I'm losing value. And just to give you a worldly perspective, that would be the same as if you went to Best Buy and asked them how much this TV is. They said the TV's $500. But you ended up paying them $600. I don't know if that's a decent example. You're overpaying. You're overpaying for the TV, right? And now, if you're just doing this recreational, that's different. But from a sharp's perspective, you want to buy teams at wholesale and basically sell at retail. So you look down here at this line. Those people that played this game, when it was say 7.5, they have a ton of closing line value, right? Because they played it at 7.5. Now the line's 10.5. So there you go. All righty, next game here. Rice, Southern Miss. I'm going to skip that one. Now let's take a look at it. Rice, Southern Miss. I think these are 2 bad teams here. Rice is minus 8.5. Southern Miss is plus 8.5. Yep, and tickets are leaning towards Southern Miss here. So Rice is a non-public team, which favors us. So we would consider this a play if everything else checks out, minus 1. So we get really good value here, about a 7-point differential. Let's take a look at my notes for this one. There's the Army Rice. Here we go. Yeah, both teams are 1-3. Very similar to that other game, but let's see if there's something in here that I like, because I did star this game. Yeah, lost, got blown out by Alabama, 14-62. Talking about Southern Miss. The only team they beat was Grambling. So they've scored 14, 9, and 7 points against what we would consider decent teams. You look at Rice, beat Texas Southern 48-34. Lost to Texas 0-51. So, yeah, this is probably a no play for me. Outside of that Texas Southern game, Rice has scored 0-7, 17 points. So, 2 really bad teams and not a lot of value. I mean, granted, value in compared to my line, but still probably a game I just don't like. Again, going back to I like to play good teams Now, if Rice was like a huge underdog, similar to that Syracuse Florida State game where we're playing against a bad team, I would probably consider it. But in this scenario, I would say no. And yeah, just look at this. Despite everything, Southern Miss is holding opponents rushing to 85 yards. So that would be conflicting against my line. So that game more than likely is going to be a pass. Okay, Boston College and Clemson. It's so funny. People laughed at my Clemson lines for the last 2 weeks, and my lines were right the last 2 weeks. And again, we have Clemson as a dog again, plus 13. We have Boston College minus 13. Now, Boston College comes here with a ton of confidence. They can absolutely play smash mouth football. They run it well. Clemson's struggling. Got a pretty good defense, but that offense is definitely struggling to score here. Let's take a look at the line. See if we get some updates. Yep, public's all over Clemson, which definitely makes us lean towards Boston College in this scenario. You're getting that hook at 14.5 is what the line is. It actually came down. So you have, this is a classic example of, reverse line movement. And what I mean by reverse line movement, majority of tickets on Clemson. So that means the line should be moving in their favor. It opened at 16, but it's went against Clemson, moved in favor of Boston College. So that's a clear indication we have some sharp money on Boston College. And what I mean by the hook is that half point. So if Boston College was to lose by 2 touchdowns, you get that half point hook there. And of course they cover. So, definitely a lean on Boston College here. It's almost as though the public thinks Clemson is going to snap out of this and blow somebody out. But, I mean, in reality, they're just not that good. And let's go ahead and give you some numbers here, things I like to look at. Boston College averaging 223 yards on the ground. Clemson defense pretty good, only giving up 120. But Boston College defense pretty good, only giving up 99 yards rushing. Clemson offense only averaging 126 yards rushing. And you look at the we know about Clemson, lost to NC State, struggled against Georgia Tech, and of course lost to Georgia. Boston College really hasn't played a lot of people. They beat Missouri in overtime 41-34, but they have put up some points against some of these bad teams. Beat Colgate 51-0, UMass 45-28, beat Temple 28-3. So this will be their first test. This is almost similar to the Wake Forest game we had last week, where Wake Forest really hadn't played anybody. Their only quality win was against Florida State. Again, we're not going to overreact to that one aspect, but something we would definitely consider. So if you were looking at the negatives for playing Boston College, they've basically been untested. I mean, they played Missouri. It's really the only true test they've had. And no doubt Clemson has played a far better schedule. I think that one's a tough one there. But if I had to play it, obviously would definitely lean in the direction of Boston College there. All right, moving along, we got Northwestern. Yeah, Northwestern minus 8.5, Nebraska. So we have Northwestern as the favorite, and they are the dog at the books there. Tickets are split here, 50-50. That's generally a good sign. So neither team's a public team. That means you're getting money and tickets on both sides. You're getting plus 11. That's an important line there because, again, with that plus 11, that means Nebraska is going to have to win this by 2 touchdowns. Northwestern is struggling a little bit. Let's pull their and Ryan Helinski, former Gamecocks, will be, I believe he's going to be the starter. They've juggled between like 3 quarterbacks this entire season. Let's see. Let's pull up their info. Northwestern, where you at? There we go. Northwestern's 2-2. Nebraska's 2-3. Northwestern blew out Ohio, did lose to Duke, beat Indiana State, and lost to Michigan State 21-38. Nebraska lost to, they played a little bit better schedule, I believe. They lost to Michigan State in overtime last week. Had a really good game with Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Both those games are on the road. Their 2 wins were against Buffalo and Fordham. Yeah, I think this is a tough one to cap. Northwestern offense can rush the ball really well, 214 yards on the ground. Nebraska's defense pretty good, only giving up 139 yards rushing. Northwestern's defense not good at all, giving up almost 200 yards rushing. Very difficult game to cap, in my opinion, simply because Nebraska has the edge opponent-wise, but Northwestern, just not any quality wins there except against Indiana State and Ohio, and they're on the road. But again, that's a pretty big number there. Let's go back to that. What was that? Yeah, 11. It looks like it's going to 12 at some books here. All right, next game. Oregon State. Oregon State minus 11 against Washington. Absolutely love this. I can promise you this is going to be a play for me for Oregon State here. Oregon State's minus 2. Our line is minus 11. We're getting huge value there. Pull this one up. And again, this goes back to that, home team. So we know we have a 70% chance of winning this statistically. Yeah, Oregon State, really good form. They're 3-1. Washington comes in at 2-2. Washington's offense only averaging 100 yards rushing. Check this out. Oregon State defense only giving up 90 yards rushing. I love that. Oregon State pounding that rock, 226 yards average on the ground, and Washington defense giving up about 164. So that definitely favors Oregon State. They're a non-public team. I would watch this line. You could see what happened. This line's opened up at +3. Now it's moved all the way in favor of Oregon State at -2. You probably want to get that one in. You definitely want to play it. I feel like this would go to 2.5. I might even make it to 3 before kickoff. Maybe not. But well, you can see right there that one book there, Jazz Sports. It's already at 3. No, I just switched games. My bad, y'all. All right, so yeah, it's at 2. So definitely try to get that in that 2.5, because more than likely if they win, will be by field goal, just like in the NFL. So love Oregon State in that one. What else we got here? Auburn minus 10.5. We have Auburn as the favorite. LSU is minus 2.5. It's a tough place to win in Baton Rouge. LSU hasn't done much since winning national championship. Let's move on to this one here. Scroll down here. All right, that goes off at 9 o'clock. Let's see what we're looking at here. Yeah, both teams 3-1. Auburn, yeah, lost to Penn State. That's our only loss. And you look at LSU lost to UCLA, got wins against Michigan State, Central Michigan, McNeese State. So really haven't been tested as well. Auburn can absolutely flat out run it, 257 yards on the ground. However, LSU defense pretty good, only giving up 111. I think this is a difficult one to cap. But if I was going to play this one, I would probably play Auburn on the money line. You're probably not going to get a lot, maybe 113, somewhere in there. Let's see what oh wow, 122. So, but I think if this game was at Auburn more than likely would be favored. So a lot of ways this is a 50-50 game. I think a difficult game to cap. Probably would be no play. New Mexico State, San Jose State. We played against San Jose State, won last week. We have New Mexico State as the favorite here. Sometimes the model will look like that, even though the line is crazy. And you can see New Mexico State is +25. And the public team there at 70%. So more than likely this would be a pass. And another reason, this line was up to, I think at one point it was like 28. I'll show you this. And this is another reason for not playing public teams. Whoops. Let's scroll down here earlier in the week. Yeah, you see right here, 9:30, it was at 28, which means San Jose State would have to win by more than 4 touchdowns. And right here at plus 28 is when you had, quote, sharp money playing this at 28. And now look, the line is down to 25. So what happened was, you had money that made the line move, and then basically the general public, piled on top of that line. And again, going back to what I said previously, there's no value left in that line. So if you were going to play that, you should have played it at plus 28. I remember looking at it when it was plus 28 and didn't play it. But again, my philosophy, the way that I handicap, I like to benefit from line movement all the way up until kickoff. Sometimes we'll miss out on games like this, but more times than not, I believe, in my opinion, it will save you and make you money long term by waiting and getting the full benefit of line movement all the way up until kickoff, just in case of an injury or you have sharp money coming in on the team. But again, yeah, if you're playing this at 25, should have played it at 28. You're losing about 3 points of value there in that matchup. Even though we have them as the favorite, they really haven't played. Really not a good team statistically. And then finally, Arizona State, UCLA. Got some really interesting stats on this one. If I can pull this up. Whoops. Yeah, UCLA, man. Chip Kelly, they definitely improved this year. Okay, we have Arizona State as the favorite. They're plus 3. So the team we're considering in this example would be Arizona State. However, doing some research on this one. Yeah, check this out with UCLA's defense. They held Stanford to 67 yards rushing. They held Fresno State to 114 yards rushing, held LSU to 49 yards rushing. So UCLA is a really good team, good defense. So for that particular reason, I will pass on that game. So that's the preview. We'll dive in here, see if we've got any questions. Hey, appreciate you guys tuning in, watching this live. If you want access to these power rankings for college football, I also do them for soccer, also do them for NFL. You get access for $49 a month. That also includes all of my coaching videos. And if you want to get access to all my power rankings, as well as all of my plays for all sports, that is $99 per month. And if you want to join for an entire year, that's the best value. You save about $600 on the year. That's $499 per month. We're on an incredible run right now. We are on a 17-3 run. Incredible run. Soccer has been really good. Of course, 6-1 run in college football. Very unrealistic. It's not going to last. I do know that, but it's been a great run while it lasted. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Good luck today with college football, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.